Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying your vacations. My name is Melissa Hernandez, and I will be your tour guide for today. And we will learn about the history of the new international order. Many of you may wonder why does a wall was built in Berlin and why was it torn down? Well, for nearly 30 years, Berlin was divided not just by ideology, but by a concrete barrier that snaked through the city, serving as an ugly symbol of the Cold War. Erected in haste and turned down in protest, the Berlin Wall was almost 27 miles long and was protected with barbed wire, attacked dogs, and 55,000 landmines. The wall came down partly because of a bureaucratic accident, but it fell amid a wave of revolutions that left the Soviet led communist bloc teetering on the brink of collapse and helped define a new world order. Now we know a little bit about the Berlin Wall, and as we heard, it was a symbol for the Cold War. So now let's take a look of the period in which the Cold War existed and the error committed by the leaders of the Soviet Union. The Cold War was a geopolitical, ideological, and economic struggle between two world superpowers, the USA and the Soviet Union, that started in 1947 at the end of the Second World War and lasted until the dissolution of the Soviet Union on December 26, 1991. The problems generated by Brezhnev's period and his unfortunate economic policy was corruption, which gradually increased at all levels, starting with his own family environment. The black market became a daily practice. The shortage and the corresponding rationing of household consumer goods were generating growing discomfort in the population. Yuri Andropov has generated a methodology of change based on haste, illusions, and blind transformations. Pursuing this goal can only lead to the catastrophe of the dissolution of the system, an authoritarian restoration, and a prolonged general instability. Chernenkov authorized the transfer of more powers to the unions in labor disputes. At this time, a plan also appeared to solve the problems of Soviet agriculture, to divert the waters of the great North Siberian rivers to the South Asian republics. Although the project, which could ultimately alter the ecological balance of the entire planet, was not carried out, to this day it still has followers in Russia. Now, let's talk about the politics of Mikhail Gorbachev and his attempt to rescue socialism, and how the domino effect began in Poland. The recipient of a wide range of awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize, he was widely praised for his pivotal role in ending the Cold War, curtailing human rights abuses in the Soviet Union and tolerating both the fall of Marxist and Leninist administrations in Eastern and Central Europe and the reunification of Germany. Glasnost was taken to mean increased openness and transparency in government institutions and activities in the Soviet Union. Gorbachev's reforms could lead to the destruction of the socialist system that he became the darling of the West, rather than due to his arms reduction efforts. Faced with two reformers, one who still believed in socialism as potentially more democratic and more just system, and another willing to welcome capitalism no matter what the cost for millions of citizens. The West soon decided who was to be their darling. The domino theory was a Cold War policy that suggested a communist government in one nation would quickly lead to communist takeovers in neighboring states, each falling like a perfectly aligned row of dominoes. The origin of these revolutionary events can be found in Poland around 1988, when a series of strikes and civil movements began to put pressure on the need for political change. The principal promoting organism of these movements would come to be called Solidarity, and its leader was Lech Walesa. The resistance gained more ground, and in 1989 there was a call for elections. The Solidarity Movement nominated Tadeusz Mazowiecki as new prime minister, resulting in a win and as a result putting an end to more than 40 years of communist government. The Soviet Union decided not to intervene and thus began the fall of the communist bloc in an irreversible domino effect. Now we have the fall of the Berlin Wall and the German unification, just like the social consequences that existed on account of the fall of the socialist bloc. The official purpose of this Berlin Wall was to keep Western fascists from entering East Germany and undermining the social state, but it primarily served the objective of stemming mass defections from East to West. The Berlin Wall stood until November 9, 1989, when the head of the East German Communist Party announced that citizens could cross the border whenever they pleased. That night, ecstatic crowds swarmed the wall. Some crossed freely into West Berlin, while others brought hammers and picks, and began to chip away at the wall itself. To this day, the Berlin Wall remains one of the most powerful and enduring symbols of the Cold War. In the 1860s, Otto von Bismarck, then Minister President of Prussia, provoked three short, decisive wars against Denmark, Austria, and France, aligning the smaller German states behind Prussia in its defeat of France. In 1871, he unified Germany into a nation-state, forming the German Empire. The Soviet Union's collapse not only threw economic systems and trade relations throughout Eastern Europe into a tailspin, it also produced upheaval in many Eastern European countries and led to increased crime rates and corruption within the Russian government. The change was sudden and swift in most of these countries, resulting in greater social and personal freedom, as well as economic upheaval and political chaos. The end of Soviet domination also unleashed pent-up ethnic and national grievances, leading to sometimes brutal confrontations over centuries-old borders and political supremacy. As a conclusion, I think the decisions taken by the socialist leaders failed because they made the economic system break into crisis. It seems to me socialism is nothing more than a lie because it promises many things, such as prosperity, when the only thing it brought was misery. This fails because it does not generate wealth and fails when the people's money runs out. The government takes advantage of everything. Socialism is a way of living without working for them. Although they say that in some countries socialism works, the truth is that it does not, since its economic structure is based on capitalism. I hope you enjoyed the tour just like I did, and I hope to see you here very soon to continue learning from this interesting story. Keep enjoying it. It was a pleasure to be your tour guide.